Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are celebrating a victory Wednesday at the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Dallas Cowboys defeated the Cleveland Browns in what, don't let the media fool you, a game in which the media predicted us to lose. So we won an upset victory, regardless of what they said on Monday morning.
Look, we got 2 comments into the show. I already told Marcus I am ready to eat my words, Jeff. But it's what was it? Marcus told me something. It's better to be pleasantly surprised and wrong when it's a good thing about the Cowboys.
Exactly.
But it wasn't Amari that didn't show up, I don't think. I think it was Deshaun. I think it was our defense is insane. We'll talk about it, but my goodness. Carson is a stud. What a steal.
All right, so thank you guys for joining us for this episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Like Amanda said, we got quite a few views coming in and got quite a few comments. Got Mendoza joining us. Mendoza was actually live at the game on Sunday, so he got to see firsthand how we annihilated the Cleveland Browns on their own turf. So I know, Mendoza, you definitely enjoyed that. And I see you here, so you got out of there alive. So kudos to you for that as well. Then Jeff Pop already coming in trying to start a mess. But thank you for joining, Jeff Pop. I always appreciate it. Got Steven Franco joining. Thank you for joining us, Steven. And we've got Bruiser Burrows. As always, go Cowboys. Thank you for joining us. Johnny Dan Alanese, thank you for joining also. Definitely got to clean up on the penalties, Robert Marinaro. But I will say this. If you watch the games Thursday night and Friday night, and you watched a couple of the games on Sunday, the refs are putting an emphasis on certain penalties.
Oh, they are.
And everybody was getting called. It was ridiculous.
That illegal formation?
Yeah.
I've never seen a legal formation called so many times. I watch a lot of football, and man, they called it at least, I guarantee you, at least 10 times. I saw that this week. So.
Definitely. And Dan, I know I'm going to butcher this, Castanuela, they're saying they played without their offensive tackles. Well, we did have a rookie playing also.
Yeah, but we still played their defense. Come on now. When the excuses will always pour in when the Cowboys do something they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
They will always.
This is what bothers me about that. Those are the same 2 tackles that started for them all of last year because their tackles were out last year. This is the same team that went to the divisional round of the AFC with those 2 tackles, but now all of a sudden they're garbage.
Yeah, with Joe Flacco.
Yep.
So they're good enough then, but they're not good enough with their high-powered quarterback. Come on.
Yeah, Jack Meeker joining us definitely made us love Zimmer a lot more. See a lot of comments coming in about the game. Guyton definitely looked great. We'll get to that in a minute. So I see the views are growing pretty fast, and those views are outweighing the likes. So before we get started, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure those likes and those views get matched up. Also, if you're not watching from DC4L, make sure you join both DC4L Facebook groups. We have one public and one private. So make sure that you go join both. A lot of great content during, before, and after the game because we're a 24/7 Facebook group with a lot of great Cowboys content with a lot of admin who really pay attention to things to make sure that it's monitored well. Also, make sure you guys go to YouTube, find us on YouTube, DC4L Facebook group, FB group, and also find me on YouTube at Bluff City Cowboys. So I'm looking at the views right now, and I see I'm getting a lot of views from Instagram. So thank you for our Instagram followers. Not Instagram, I'm sorry, our X followers. Thank you for joining us from X. So if you guys get a chance, if you're watching from my page, which I see you are, make sure you go to my profile, hit that link, take a few seconds, hit that subscribe button for Bluff City Cowboys. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Before we talk about the upcoming game, we have to do a game recap of what we just saw. We're at 5 minutes. We got a lot to talk about. So
A
we're going to
lot.
dive right into it. So let's quickly do a game recap of last week's game.
Game recap.
All right, so as you guys know, the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Cleveland Browns 33-17 on their home turf. It actually wasn't even as close as the scoreboard suggested because the drive that they scored that second touchdown, we had basically pulled all the starters. So they really got one garbage touchdown and they only really scored one true touchdown, even though that touchdown was a prevent defense drive.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot of stuff to look at in the game. I'm just going to give a couple of quick offensive and defensive notes. Then Amanda, you feel free to jump in. So just a couple of offensive notes that stood out to me. Just on the offensive side of the ball, both of our rookies played well. Now, looking at the tape, Cooper, BB, he did not allow a pressure in pass rush.
Not
But
one.
on run defense, there were a couple of reach blocks that he could not make. Now, he's a center. He has short arms. Centers normally have a lack of athleticism, so we let those things pass. But when he was able to latch on to a guy and he was asked to drive block a guy, 100% did his job. So he'll get better at those reach blocks as he continues to progress as a center. Because remember, this is his first game as a center. Go through the comments real quick. Bert Peters, thank you for joining. Stephen Franco, yeah, Turpin finally got the one we've been waiting for. I see we got Jeff joining us also. Got Terry Rudd joining us, Niners fan. So thank you for tuning in to a Cowboys podcast, one of my close friends. We got Keystone in the house. Thank you for joining us also. And Stephen Franco saying they held the Browns under 55 yards. We'll get to that when we get to defensive notes. Surprisingly, I would say most of the offensive line mishaps came from the right side of the line. So we had a rookie on one side. Tyler Guyton gave up a couple of pressures. Then they started doing a little bit more chipping. That's when you saw Garrett go to the right side of the ball and started working on Terrence Steele a little bit. There weren't any sacks from that. Well, there was one big sack early in the game, but outside of that, any mishaps came from the right side of the line, which was surprising. I hate to say it, but it looks like Zach Martin may be regressing a little.
He's on the downslide.
He's on the downslide. I don't know if he'll get all pro this year, but he's still a very good guard. But you can definitely see he's starting to go downhill just a little bit. Our receivers played with more confidence. You could see it in the route running. You could see the explosiveness. You can see guys who, when they caught the ball, they were kind of running with a little bit more intention after the catch, particularly Brooks and Cook. So definitely glad to see our receivers playing with a little bit more confidence. And something that I know a lot of fans who want to hate on Zeke won't say, the run game was actually above average.
It really was.
Zeke had 10 carries for 40 yards, 4 yards a carry, got a touchdown. We've been talking about this all offseason. That's a Zeke Elliott game. He's going to give you 4 yards a carry. He's going to give you those tough yards when you need them. He had like an 8-yard run that was called back on the first drive on a holding call, so it probably would have been a little bit more in terms of average. But overall, good game from our running backs. And they definitely showed me that even though we can't rely on them to win us a game, I don't think they're going to be the detriment that most fans think they will be. Anything offensively you want to add to that, Amanda?
Okay. So my concern with the offense, and now I want to say that we kind of took our foot off the gas in the second half, and that really bugged me. I understand what the point was, but there wasn't quite that passion and drive that you saw that first half of the game. We kind of, I don't know if it was the play calling or if it was the players kind of got comfortable. But I want to see that drive, that fire. I want to see it progress through the entire 4 quarters, because it is so, when you're playing a good team, it is so easy for that team to come back and beat you. And I was upset because I didn't see more from the offense. I mean, we really didn't do much of anything after the half. If you really think about it, there really wasn't much to think of. You think of offense, and it was phenomenal the first half, and it wasn't even phenomenal. It was great for their first game of the season that half the people didn't play. Phenomenal is I say that because none of them played. So it was for a team that had the number 2 defense last year.
Yeah.
The fact that we came out and played that well with CD holding out all off season. Dak hadn't played a snap. Zach Martin, the list goes on and on. We played really well, but that downward slide really bugged me at the end of the first half, moving into the second. So I want to see more passion, but perhaps it's just because we were ahead and McCarthy didn't really want to open the playbook. My biggest concern offensively was Jake Ferguson, because that's such an important piece on the offense.
Yeah.
But it looks like he even could play. So
I hope he doesn't, but yeah, he could.
I don't want him to play either. You just can't risk it. Bone bruises are tricky. And I think we can run with, what we took a tight end 2 years ago in the draft. In the second round of the draft for Michigan, and he needs to show the reason we took him. So,
all right, let's see if we got any other notes. Eric pregame sweat saying the rookie corner and tackle ball. I noticed huge upgrades in the run defense, so maybe a game ball or two to Kendrickson overshown. Definitely, we'll talk about that in a minute. Also, let's see if we have any other offensive notes that were made. Bruiser Burrow saying Guyton will be fine.
Well, we got to talk about one offensive note that happened right before the game.
We'll get to that.
He said, "I got a slide for it, Amanda." That's a big one.
That's a storyline.
It's a big one.
All right, so I see that's pretty much all the offensive.
Oh, Brandon Aubrey, that's something we can talk about. 66 yards. I wish they would have let him try it at 71. I really wanted to see a 70. Like, who tries that? They should have done it. I bet he could have hit it. So.
Yeah. The only thing I'll be concerned about with that, playing on a natural field, you don't want to pull a hamstring or a groin.
I think about that, and if it was a standard kicker, Harrison Butker or Jake Moody even, but you look at someone with that soccer background, and that's what they do. That's the way they kick like that all the time. He is so smooth with his progression in a kick. I really think it wouldn't hurt him. I understand why they didn't, but I think he would have made it, and that would have been crazy. And exactly, Jeff, he's used to grass. And even Tom Brady was up there. Hey, let's do it. I want to see it. Can you imagine if you're in a game and it's like you can't let them get to the 40, R40. You cannot let the Cowboys get to R40 in a close game. That's crazy. That's just no one has that in their arsenal, and that's a weapon that the Cowboys got way lucky to find. And someone else signed a soccer player. Who was it? There's another soccer player, because I saw it. They were talking about it today, during one of the games. I just don't remember which it is, but another kicker that was a soccer player. So I guess they're pulling from the Cowboys book, hoping they get lucky.
Of course.
Got to see what they can get.
It's a copycat league. Once you see somebody else do something successful, you're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that kind of bothered me, they didn't let him kick the field goal. Now, one of the reasons I think is because of injury concerns. The other one was you don't want it to go short, even though I don't think it would have. And then you give a cornerback a free run of 30 yards with a bunch of offensive linemen on the field.
I can understand that aspect, but I don't think the way his leg is, I guess they're just waiting for the right opportunity. But he would have tied the record had they not. What was it? A delay a game? That's what they got us with, right? Delay a game.
They didn't go with the timeout.
Of course they didn't. I do too, Steven. I'm not a fan of the new kickoff rules at all. I don't. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
The other thing that bothered me, they decided not to go for the field goal, but they let Dak go out there and try to throw a Hail Mary when he's not known for having a strong arm. And if that guy would have caught that interception, he would have had a full head of steam, and it would have been no skill guys in front
Out
of him. It
there
would
to
have
get
been
it.
just
Yeah.
Dak and the lineman. So that would have been ugly.
It's kind of like, at that last play, they had Dak out there too, and the game's basically iced. And I understand victory formation, don't get me wrong, but there was some questionable coaching things there that McCarthy bugs me about year after year. And I'd hoped we'd see some change, but obviously not.
Yeah. We got to take the good with the bad sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's part
I'm
of the
going to
bad.
take the win because the fact we did what we did, and it's just so funny to me. You go into a stadium as underdogs, come out winning, and it's like, oh, that was nothing.
Yep. Exactly. All right, so let's go to the defensive side. And Jeff talked about this earlier. Just having real linebackers makes a major impact in terms of how we play in the front seven. You see, we line them up in second and shorts. When it's third and long, you have linebackers who are able to make a tackle if they throw it to a running back. There was a play, I'm going to show it in a small highlight. There was a play when it was like 3rd and 8, and the linebackers kind of released. The running back ran just an inside curl route, caught it, about 4-yard catch. As soon as he turned around, both linebackers were there to stop him to make it a 4th and 1. Plays like that we didn't make last year. That running back would have gotten the first down. But just with the way our linebackers are playing, you put a lot of teams in 4th and shorts, and then because they're so talented, you're able to stop them. So definitely those linebackers made a major impact in that game. Go ahead, Amanda. I'm sorry.
Well, I saw a stat that was really interesting about that. When Mozzie wasn't in the game, it was 5.2 yards on average for the run, and it was 3.6. Look, I'm just gonna say that's an upgrade from what we saw last year. So I just wanted to make note that there was some positive there with Mozzie. I noticed it. I was really watching for it.
Yeah.
And that's a good sign. That means that maybe he's adjusting well to Zimmer's situation. And the reason I think the linebackers had success was because of how well your DTs were handling the middle of that field. And they're the right size, so that also helps.
Finally, yes.
Finally.
Yeah. Like Jack Meeker said, Micah is definitely the engine that makes the defense work.
Yep.
Half the plays the defensive player made were due to Zim using Micah to open them up. 100% accurate. They had Micah standing up. They had him at D tackle. They had him wide 9. They had him in the A gap as a linebacker. They had him all over the place. And he was consistently just helping guys to get open.
D-Law with 2 sacks.
2 sacks.
Kendricks
had 2 sacks.
And an interception.
Right.
It was
and every one of those plays Michael was involved in. Micah should have had about 4 sacks that game, but he
should have. He
missed like 3 of them because you got just an elusive quarterback, and we had guys who would come in and clean it up, which was good.
It was really impressive to, first of all, Jerome Ford. Do not let them tell you that he is not good, because he helped carry them to that divisional round. And he was not finding success on that field. I know because I have him in fantasy. He had a little bit. I mean, he had some. What was it? I think 30-something yards. It wasn't much.
Yeah.
It was very low. Our run defense is. I can't look. We got to watch a few games. We got to see a few games to see. But so far, I take the sample of what we were given on Sunday, and I am very impressed, and I'm very excited that Zimmer is back. And Zimmer's also, if he wants to continue coaching, he came out of retirement for this job. If he wants to get another job, it's very important that he does well. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a decent season if you see Mike and Zimmer both stay around, because that defense looks phenomenal.
So Terry Rudd said number 3 is a wild statement. I would love to find out why you say that. And I'm saying it because right now we have an all-pro in Trayvon Diggs, who, based off Sunday's game, doesn't look
still an all-pro.
Doesn't like the knee injuries affecting him too much. Still has great ball skills. You got DeRon Bland coming back, and then you got the seatbelt. And Kalen Carson, who in his first game, I don't think he gave up 60 yards. He did give up a touchdown. But the thing I love about the touchdown he gave up, just one of those small things you pay attention to, Normally, when you see a guy give up a touchdown, you see him kind of beat himself up, and it's kind of like a throwing a little temper tantrum on the field or something like that. The look that Kalen Carson had looked like okay, you got me that time. I'll
You
see
ain't
you on
getting
the
me
next
again.
drive.
Yeah, you ain't
Right.
getting me again.
You ain't getting me again. That's the look he had when that guy scored the touchdown. Like, okay, cool, you got me that time. No worries. So I just like that level of confidence that I see in him. And he showed an ability to play both man and zone, and not only uses athleticism, but also uses intelligence, which for a rookie, 5th round pick, you don't normally see some of the plays he made being made by guys like that.
In his first NFL game, and you locked down, and I'm sorry, I'm still going to say this just because I don't care what you think of me. You locked down the number 1 route runner in this league because that's Amari Cooper, and he had if you want to call it Deshaun Watson, whatever, he's still a great player. And that kid made sure he didn't have much success at all. So all props to the rookie. And what is it? I asked Marcus this before the show. Someone tell me what it is with the Cowboys and 5th round cornerbacks.
Yeah.
My goodness, Deron Bland, Kalen Carson, just absolute sheer dumb luck, or I mean skill. The 5th round grade on these, like or it's Al Harris.
Harris and our talent evaluation team, Chris Evans and Will, yeah. Those guys are good. And then we got Terry Rudd in here trying to throw shade, saying the Browns were down O-lineman and Watson's going through some things mentally. So you weren't here at the beginning of the show, Terry. The 2 tackles that started were the same 2 tackles that started at the end of the year. The reason they played is because the Browns tackles last year were injured all throughout the playoffs in the last 8 or 9 games. So those are the guys that started last year that went to the divisional round. So it's not like they just pulled 2 scrubs off the bench that have never seen playoff action.
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess we're going to find out this weekend, aren't we, Terry?
I like Marshawn Lattimore.
If we're gonna compare teams, let's look at the teams that we played. The Panthers, and they played the Panthers. So let's not get too high up. I mean, I'm not saying they might not be great, but it is still Derek Carr.
Yeah.
So they played the Panthers.
And if you guys follow me from the old show, you guys know one of my favorite corners to come out of college was Paul Adebo from Stanford. He's their other starting corner. And then they have, again, if you follow me from the old show, Alontae Taylor from Tennessee. Like, I know that secondary because I'm a draft guy, and all of those guys are like my favorite corners coming out. And then they have Honey Badger. So they have a talented secondary.
They do. I don't know if I don't think they best us just because and let's not, we're talking about Carson and Diggs. Jay Lou was on another planet.
He was.
Wow. He chose to come here. It already came out that he was offered a contract by Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn tried to get Jay Lou, and Jay Lou said, "This is home, and I want to stay with y'all. I want to stay in Dallas. This is home." So I think it's really pertinent that he stayed. And with what happened, we're blessed that he stayed because I don't know where we'd be right now if you want to take a situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's behind him?
Or we find some other 5th round corner to come in and step up.
Right. You got to find the next one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm really excited about our secondary moving forward. And that includes the safeties because my goodness.
Yeah.
And Steven, that's me. You can message me on Facebook. I'm the one who commented that.
All right. So let's go ahead, touch base on one last thing, then we'll move ahead to the Saints. So we got to go with the player of the week. And the player of the week this week was linebacker Eric Kendricks. 9 total tackles, 2 sacks, 1 interception in his first game as a Dallas Cowboy. So Amanda, what kind of stood out to you in this game from Eric Kendricks?
Well,
to show these type of stats.
Well, I know there's a Niners fan in the chat, so I'm sorry ahead of time, but man, I'm glad he chose to sign with us.
I know.
This kid was everywhere, and I know he's very familiar and comfortable in Zimmer's scheme. I don't know if that's part of the reason, but he didn't look like this last year.
No, he didn't.
He is fired up, and I am really, really excited. I don't know if it's his skill set or the fact that Micah and the talent around him opened his abilities up. You know what I mean? Like the talent's
Mhm.
there, but you have to be surrounded by decency, or you're not. Because if you're the only guy, we've had that situation before. And now my mind just went blank with the player I was thinking of. But we've had decent linebackers before in the past, and when you don't have decency, like at your edge, your defensive tackle, if you don't have people all around you, you're not going to be successful. So I really think it's a combination of the team around him, the comfortability in the system that he's in, and I'm really impressed. And I really, really hope he can stay healthy because I know there's some history on that aspect.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I have to also say that interception was kind of a gimme because Parsons tipped it. And it's really, and I just need to put that out there. That was, again, he got that interception because Parsons put his hand up.
Mhm.
So.
Hey, but you still got to make the play when it's there, though.
You do have to make the play. I want to make sure we're giving, good praise because it
Yeah.
is. It's the defense really was firing on all cylinders. So
Yeah, they definitely were. And I had a couple of plays that were up there. I didn't put the big plays like the sacks or the interceptions because I wanted to show like some of the little stuff he was doing that really made an impact in the games. Let me just go through a couple of those really
let's
quick.
go.
It's only like 5 clips.
That's
So
fine.
like this first clip you see, bam, number 50 hits that guard, prevents the running back from being able to go any further. And then you watch this play, pretty much the same thing. Bam, fill the hole. Now look, let the defensive end crash and let him make the tackle. And then this the play I was just talking about. 3rd and 8, he catches the
Boom.
ball. You stop him pretty much in his tracks, set him up for 4th and 1. They have to punt. And then this was one of my favorite plays.
Yes.
Overshown fills the gap. Eric Kendricks comes in and cleans it up. Those are plays we didn't get last year from our linebackers. And then another play right here, just going down the line, shedding tackles, cut it short for a 4-yard gain. When I promise you last year that would have been an 80-yard touchdown.
For sure.
We can watch the Buffalo Bills game over with.
I don't want to do that. James Cook is burned into my memory. Thank you. I remember that game vividly. I was playing in fantasy. It was Cook, right? Now I don't want
Yeah.
James Cook, right?
James Cook, yeah.
Yeah, I know my mind on that. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Kendricks. I'm really, really glad he chose to sign with us because I remember that we didn't think we were getting him. So
yeah, and Jeff Pop bringing up, I think it was under on all the overs that we put up. So we're going to be doing over under again at the end of the show. So hopefully they'll hit all unders again.
Look, if we keep winning and I'm wrong at my very just, fan based, now look, I do research and stuff, but if I'm wrong and the Cowboys prove me wrong because they're playing that well, prove me wrong every week, please.
All right, Rachel Nance, thank you for joining us. We're at 29 minutes. So we're going to put the Cleveland Browns game in the rear view, and we're going to look ahead to the game against the New Orleans Saints going back home. So I just want to, before we do that, let's go ahead and get this over with. We got a couple of storylines to talk about. So we'll go through that briefly, and then we'll look ahead to the Saints game. So let's take a look at a couple of storylines leading to this game.
Storylines.
All right, so the big storyline that happened during the game was we saw Jake Ferguson get injured, grabbing his knee, looked like he was in a lot of pain. Luckily, after the game, he did not have a knee brace, and he did not have a severe limp. They just had an ice pack on, and he was able to walk under his own strength, which was a good sign. And then when they interviewed him after the game, he said the pain on the field was a 10, but he said by the time he got to the plane, it was at a 0. So that's a very good sign that it's not something severe. And then Mike McCarthy kind of doubling up on that, saying that there's a possibility he could play this Sunday, and it looks like it could just be a bone bruise. So, Amanda, 2 questions. One question, really. Do you think he should play this week?
No. Not at all.
I agree.
Not at all.
You talked about this earlier in the show. We used a 2nd round pick. couple
Yeah.
years ago on a tight end. This is where that has to pay dividends at.
Yeah. And it's funny, we get rid of Hendershot and then so yeah. You send Hendershot up. Well, you waive him, and then the Chiefs
Yeah.
decide I don't want him to clear waivers, so please send him my way. Trade him for a late round pick, and now you've got this issue. So you know what? This is Schoonmaker's opportunity. This is it.
It
This
is.
is your moment. If you want to prove you have a reason to be on this team, like because you're going into year 3, you're not next year is year 3. This is your make it or break it. You need to make an impact right now. You have the opportunity with number 1 down. So, but I even noticed they really didn't use him after Jake went out. They were using Lupke. So it makes you wonder what coaches have seen it too. So we'll see what they're going to do. I don't know. You got to rest Jake. Jake is way too important in this offense. And it is way too early to start risking a player that is that important. Yeah. And I say that as someone that has him on many fantasy teams because I expected this to be a breakout year for Jake Ferguson. I really, really did. So you got to rest him. You have to.
Yeah, like Blake Hina-Joseph said, this game may be a 3-touchdown game. Why are you risking the guy, Steven Franco? We need him later on. Yeah, we're going to need him down the line, Douglas Allen. Definitely say it. And like you said, we got Schoonmaker. Hunter Lepke's been involved. John Stevens will probably be back this week also. So we have pass catching options at tight end.
He was a do not practice today too, wasn't he? John Stevens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot my friend Marlon's in the comments and he's a diehard Saints fan. So Marlon cover your ears for the next 30 minutes. Oh, and I forgot, Jeff. Yeah, we got Brevin Spann Ford, which by the way, he didn't block well during preseason, but in this game,
yes, he did.
Yes, he showed us what we were expecting. There were a couple of plays where they had him lined up against the end because the ends at one point were like wide 9.
Yeah.
And they thought the tackle was going to be the one to kind of stretch out and get him. No, Brevin Spann Ford said, I got this. It wasn't Myles Garrett. I won't say that. But the other defensive ends, he definitely made his presence known. I counted 2 pancakes on defensive ends. And he got up to the next level on some linebackers also. So he definitely came through. He'll probably get some opportunities in the passing game.
That's one of the reasons I think that's so important to let Fergie rest, even though he says he's not in pain. Yeah, but what can be a grade 1 can easily, you're 1 hit away from ending your season, going on IR, rest, take the game, sit in the sauna. You don't have to be live.
Yeah. And thank you for joining us, Steven Franco. I always appreciate your support. All right, let's go to the second storyline, and then we'll go to the Saints game. All right, the next storyline happened before the game, and that was Dak Prescott got paid. 4 years, $240 million extension, $231 million guaranteed, $1 million more than Deshaun Watson. $80 million signing bonus, also largest signing bonus ever. So let's go ahead and get the comments going because I know it's going to happen. What do you think about the contract, Amanda? Was it what you expected? Was it higher or lower? About right?
Okay, I'm just going to say, man, I am absolutely shocked that they gave Dak $60 million. Not because there is no better option right now. I know y'all want to go to the draft. Look, you have a team right now. You look at the team. This team can win now. If you can get over Dak. Look, Dak and the entire team's problems. I'm not saying Dak's perfect. He's got big problems when it comes to the playoffs. The whole team does. So I look at the situation I looked at the quarterback situation for next year in the draft. I don't even see anyone I like. I see a few the next year that I'd like to have on my team. So you bring someone in and you let them train under Dak because Dak has a lot of positives. So I just think that it was a lot of money and Todd France really, really worked. So I can't believe they gave him 60. I figured we were going to see 57, 58. But just so y'all know, in the admin chat Saturday when they dropped the photos of like the team walking to the plane, I told everyone, I said, something is up. I said, look at the look on Dak's face. And let me tell you, I went to bed. I was like, I'm going to sleep in because it's a late game. I said, I got a bunch of kids. So I was like, I'm going to sleep in. I woke up and my phone's blown up, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I woke up, they're all like, "Where the hell's Amanda?" Hi, it's me. I just needed to sleep in for Dak to get paid. So I think it was a smart move. It's a lot of money, but I looked at the structure and they structured it very well.
Yeah.
They did a really good job. Mike is going to be able to get paid. No one think that this is not going to make it so Micah can get paid. The whole
Not at
thing where
all.
3 players take up 50% of the cap, you actually do the math. That's not, Jerry was fact checked. That's not the case. And you could say overpaid all you want. I see plenty of people saying it, but there are no other options. He could get it anywhere else he wanted to.
More than
Dak
that.
got his money, probably a lot more. People would be pounding on Dak's door. Jerry had to get it done before the season started, because if not, you got a quarterback out there. If he plays like he did last year, the price only got higher.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to pull the contract up just so I could show it. But yeah, like you said, this doesn't affect Micah Parsons at all. If I can get about another minute, I can put a slide up that has the contract just so I can talk about this.
yeah, go ahead. I want to know what y'all think. I know some of y'all, but honestly, what was the better option? If you have a better option for next year that doesn't involve signing Dak Prescott, please tell me, because it sure as heck wasn't Trey Lance. I made a joke every time he threw a ball in the preseason. It was another million added to Dak's check. So I just want to know, what was the better option? No,
Marlon asked the question, was Dak looking for a new deal last year? I mean,
you could have. They
he
should have
could've, right.
extended him. They
Exactly.
should have. But Jerry is notorious. He loves headlines. And that's exactly me and Marcus joked on Wednesday that it'd be Friday to steal Philly's thunder in the Brazil game.
Mhm.
No, he waited until everybody kicked off Sunday morning and rolled it out there. And everything everyone was talking about was Dak Prescott's contract. So
Yep.
he stole every headline. But Jerry just never, he does it every time. CD should have been signed last year. Dak should have been extended. Micah Parsons should have been signed this year.
Yeah.
If you do it, the longer you wait, the more the price goes up. Jerry just does it every time. So
yeah. So just to go through the contract really quick, somebody said all guaranteed except $9 million. Preface that all guarantees are not guaranteed.
correct.
So the only thing that Dak has guaranteed is 24, 25, and part of 26.
Right.
So just looking at the contract really quick to give you guys an idea of how the numbers work. So you look at the base salary. This is actually what Dak's salary is. So his salary does not, even though the contract says 60 million a year, his salary never goes over 60 million. The largest his base salary ever hits is 55 in 2028. And by that time, he'll be getting his last contract, which will probably be for a lot less. And he'll be riding out his last years as a Cowboy.
Right.
So the one to pay attention to is year 2, 2025. You see that base salary jumps to 47 million. So what's going to happen is Dallas always does it. They're going to restructure that 47 million and spread that out to $8 million a year over the next 5 years. So you're probably going to take his salary down from 47 to about 9 for next year. So when you do that, now you sign Micah Parsons and you just cleared $35 million for him. So now you go to 2026 where Dak's getting 40 million. At that point, you're going to restructure Micah or CD. You're probably going to restructure CD.
CD. And
So
maybe
now-
Trevon.
Maybe Trevon, yeah. So
Yep.
now Dak's got his big 1 year, but you lower CD or Trayvon's cap, and now you're able to keep all 3 contracts manageable. You go to 2027, that's probably when you restructure Micah. So now you're taking on Micah and CD, big cap hits. Then you get to 2028, you're going to sign Dak to another deal. That 55 is probably going to go down to 2. So this is how contracts normally work when you got several guys on your team. The numbers look big, but they're going to do a staggered restructure to make sure that even though the guys are making a lot of money, they're not all necessarily getting it at the same time. So just
They
one of
did
those things you got to pay attention to.
they did a really good job on this one. I didn't like Dak's last contract because it was so backloaded.
Yeah.
I have to say I do like the structure on this one. It's a little bit different. I think it was Dak's first year under this contract that he was just on was 16 million. If you notice, they didn't do that this year. It was a 16 million on the cap. They didn't do it. It's 40 something this time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really, really grateful for that. Because see, when you do those low cap hits, you gotta claim it somewhere.
Somewhere
You have
at
to
some
claim it
point.
somewhere. So that's why we had a $40 million dead cap hit heading into next year if we didn't sign Dak. That now you could have split up over 2 years at 20 and 20.
And that's
You
pretty
could-
much what they did. So
That's exact. So they did a good job this time. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful. I think Dak will not. He'll get his restructure next year. You sign Micah. The next year, like you said, you're going to restructure CD. And look, they just I wouldn't be shocked if Jerry might have something else up his sleeve. They restructured Terrence Steele, which really shocked me.
yeah.
I don't understand where that money is. At like we have quite a bit. So
Mm-hmm.
don't be shocked if there's no one out there that I could think of that really needs to come in. So maybe they're trying to work on Micah because he seemed really confident in stating, "I will be a Cowboy."
I
But-
don't think they would do Micah this year because
You don't
it
think
wouldn't.
so?
Well, you know what? And I don't want to go too far in this because we need to talk about the Saints.
Right.
But Myles Garrett is going to do a contract this offseason.
Uh-huh.
So if they're trying to beat Myles Garrett number,
They signed
which I think the number right now is TJ Watt or Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, 35 million.
35. We just talked about it. Yeah.
So if Garrett comes in next year, it's probably going to be 37. So now you got to do Micah at 37 and a half, 38. So maybe you sign Micah now at 36 and you save a little bit of money. You save a couple of $1 million a year before Myles Garrett does it. The only other option I could see is maybe they sign him now because his signing bonus will be so big and they want to just go ahead and get the signing bonuses and guarantees out now.
Makes sense.
So that next year, his number's not as high. You restructure Dak and what I just went through before.
Well, because y'all got to remember, Turpin, Osa, D-Law, there's a lot of people.
Zach
that
Martin,
need-
if
Zach
you want to
Martin,
resign him,
Jake
Jordan
Ferguson
Lewis,
sold out,
Jake
Jordan
Ferguson.
Lewis. I mean, Deron Bland, the list.
Tyler
goes
Smith do a
on.
contract if he wants to.
I mean, it's a lot of people are on 1 years or on contract years, or the make it or break it thing. So it's
Yeah,
very
these are starters.
Yeah, a lot of starters. It's not just nobody's riding the bench or
Yeah.
rotational players. These are key players. So
Right.
we'll see.
So if they're not doing Micah, which I don't think they'll do, what I think is about to happen is they're going to talk to Zach Martin. They're going to talk to D-Law. They may talk to Jake Ferguson. You may see something with Osa. So you may see 3 or 4 second-tier guys come out with $9 or $10 million contracts right now. And again, instead of absorbing Micah's big hit this year, you absorb
Push it next. Yeah.
you absorb 3 or 4 guys big hits right now so that next year everybody can have a lower base when you sign Micah. So
What's
I
our
can
cap
see
number
that
right
as an option. What's that?
What's our cap number right now? See, I knew it was. Hold on.
I mean, the number's probably about 45 if I had to guess without
I
looking.
thought so too. I thought it was pretty big.
Yeah.
That's what made me think Micah. But if you get 3 or 4 of those players out of the way and you only have Micah to deal with next year,
Right.
that also helps. Because right now they had to deal with they're sitting there talking to CD and Dak, 2 record-breaking contracts.
Right. And the reason I say that while you're looking at that, because D-Law's not going to get a long deal. You're looking at maybe 2, maybe 3 years.
2.
So you're not going to be able to spread that money out as much. Zach Martin's probably getting 1 or 2 years. You may look at Osa for 2 or 3 years, but they don't normally sign defensive tackles like that. So if you're not getting a big spread, that means you got to pay a lot of money at one time. So maybe they're trying to sign 2 or 3 guys right now. Go ahead and take that cap hit. And then for the next 2 years, you kind of solidify the second tier of your team and go ahead and just absorb the money now.
So this says we're around 30.
30. Okay.
Because it's not, I just looked, it's not including the restructure with Terrence. So it's at 26. So you add in the 4.5
Yeah.
and you're around 30. So
Okay. About 30. Okay. All right, so yeah, so just pay attention to that in the next couple of weeks. You could see a D-Law contract, 2 years, 30 million. You could see a Osa contract, give him 7 or 8 million. You may try to sign Jake Ferguson before he makes the explosion we think he'll make. So you may see a couple of guys like that. Jeff, good point, Jeff.
Good. Isn't he up? Is he up or is it?
No,
did we
he only
do
signed
2
a
or
2-year
3?
deal, so
He
he's
did it
definitely
2
up.
years, so he's up. Yeah, he's got to have money too.
Exactly.
That might be it, actually. With you, if you think about it,
Yeah,
that would be a really good idea to get him locked in before he does anything too crazy.
right. The only thing about that is the franchise tag for a kicker is extremely low.
It's very cheap, so
you could definitely franchise him twice, and instead of giving him a contract, but I'd rather just sign him and get it over with. But
I would too. And Terry, you said Sanders. We don't want that. The clown car. We'll let y'all have that there.
yeah,
And plus, there's no way this team's getting a top 5 draft pick. And Jerry's not doing another Herschel Walker deal to sell the farm for one guy who may or may not work.
Mm-hmm.
So
even if Dak wasn't signed, you're right.
Right. Yep.
All right.
Even if he didn't.
All right, let's go ahead. We got a lot of show to cover. 47 minutes. The views are still high. Let's get those views and those likes matched up. We're at 50 likes right now. Last show we hit 100, so we got about 45 minutes to hit 100 again. So make sure you guys keep watching. DC4L group, make sure you guys are sharing this. Share it to your favorite Facebook group. Let's help grow DC4L Nation. Let them see we're talking about some good football conversation right now. And if you're watching at Twitter, make sure you take a second, hit that subscribe button. Find DC4L on YouTube. Also find Bluff City Cowboys. And I see the views are starting to go up and the likes are as I say that. Thank you guys for that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about this week's game with the New Orleans Saints. So we like to start off with a little bit of a tale of the tape. So just going off of last week's game, and we got the Beard Gang in the building. Brian Dublé, been a long time follower. He's probably been with me for 4 years now. So I definitely always appreciate your support. So we got the tail of the tape right here. So week 1, Cowboys scored 33, Saints scored 47. Scoring difference 17-10. The turnover differentials are both a +2. The Saints forced 2 turnovers. They didn't have any, and so did the Cowboys. So just off of the stats, the game should be pretty close. We could take into consideration the level of talent that they played against, but we got a Saints fan in the crowd. I don't want to hurt his feelings too bad. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so before we move on, we do have a question of the week. So we've been talking all about these rookies. Which rookie do you guys think had the best first game debut? So we got DeMarvion Overshown, who missed all of last year, coming off the knee injury, came in his first game. We got Cooper BB starting his first game at center. We got Kalen Carson, 5th round pick, starting at corner. And we got 1st round pick Tyler Guyton at left tackle. Let me know what you guys think before we move ahead. Who you guys think had the best first game debut? Amanda, who do you got?
This isn't a fair question.
Okay.
I don't even know how I can choose. That man.
That says a lot about the talent we have.
Exactly. It really does. I want to look, you go into with 2 offensive linemen that are rookies and one being the most important position going up against the defensive player of the year. I don't think Tyler Guyton is getting enough praise for what he did. Yeah. I mean, they literally moved Garrett off of him because they had to move him more. He wasn't getting any pressure. He had a few struggles there in the beginning, but it wasn't even that bad. I love Overshown. I knew he was going to be special, but I think I'm going to have to give it. Oh, man, this isn't even fair. Kalen Carson is going to take it because there is absolutely no world that a rookie comes in and does that well against talent that's good. that is as good as what he was facing. Because if you noticed, they moved Cooper off a Diggs side. We talked about that.
They
They
did.
don't usually do that. They moved Cooper off of Diggs' side. Like they moved him to the rookie side, I'm guessing expecting the rookie to falter, and the rookie did not. So that's who I'm giving it to.
Marla said we're going to welcome them to the NFL. We'll see. Now, for me, again, like you said, Amanda, we're splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
We were blessed to have 4 very talented young players, and I treat Overshown like the NBA rules. You missed the whole rookie season. This is your
Still a
rookie
rookie.
year.
Yeah.
So I treat him like a rookie also. I got to go with either Carson or BB because they play the tougher positions. Tyler Guyton did have to play against a defensive player of the year, but he got some help.
Yeah.
I would probably give the edge slightly to Cooper BB because it's his first time ever playing a position.
You know, he was really, it was pretty. I expected a few fumbled snaps. I was expecting, something to get away from him. He moved over from left guard, right? Yeah, because he played left guard. So you move this guy over. The dude's so dedicated. He's got his mother out there being Dak in the backyard. They talk.
Right.
I mean, it's just the dedication. So I can see your point. It's really it's a hard answer. It's hard to answer that question. They all played really, really well. The closing speed on Overshown when he got after Deshaun, when Deshaun got out of the pocket, that was nuts. So
that was ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. If I was just looking at the game performance, I would probably go Overshown.
Yeah.
But just the difficulty of the position and what I saw that he faced, I would probably have to go BB with that one. But yeah, they all performed well. And I'll say I was wrong about Overshown. I didn't think he had that explosiveness that he showed. I know he played a little bit like a safety at Texas, and he was kind of a run and hit guy. But there was a second gear that I didn't think he had, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. And we'll talk about that. And Ryan at DC Diner, we haven't even started talking about the Saints yet. We got so much to talk about, but we're about to right now. All right, so views are still going up. Likes are still going up. Let's get you guys more involved in the show. We're going to go through our regularly scheduled amount of content when we talk about new teams. So we will start off first with some of our key matchups to look at in this week's game.
Key matchups.
So we talked about Overshown. We just finished talking about him. And I could always do CD Lamb. I could always do Micah, but I like to show some of those other matchups that could have an impact on the game that most people don't think about. When I watch the Saints, they like to run their tight ends deep. And watching last week's game, Overshown was the guy who was kind of tasked with carrying tight ends more than the safeties, which was a surprise. So I'm looking at Overshown and watching him have to cover both of the Saints tight ends because they like to rotate heavily. They use what's the gadget guy's name?
Taysom Hill.
They use Taysom Hill as a tight end. Well, that's what he's described at, but he's not the guy who's the tight end running routes. They use mainly Foster Moreau and Jawan Johnson as kind of the deep threat tight ends who kind of spread the field. Now, Foster Moreau played Sunday, Mendoza, so I don't know if he's hurt after the game. I was just going by what I saw on the game. And Marlon, we'll get to that in a second. Jeff talking about the Donovan Wilson hit, definitely made a great play on that. And that's another reason why I kind of got Overshown right here, because looking at last week's game, the Cowboys played a lot of cover 1 and cover 2. So they just kind of let Donovan Wilson just play deep and play downfield. And Mendoza doing what Mendoza does, giving us a player that nobody's ever heard of. Dallin Holker is the 4 tight end for that team. And I have no clue who this guy is, but I'll take your word for it. All right, so Let's go to another key matchup. This one I think is going to be a little bit underrated because again, the Saints have a lot of speed at receiver, which they haven't had in a while.
Are we talking about Olave?
Olave, Rashid Shaheed,
Yeah, I didn't know
AT.
who you were bringing up against the Rook.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh, I figured that's where you were headed.
No, I was just talking about the tight end matchup.
Oh, okay, because you said you were headed into a next one, so I thought you were sorry.
Well, actually, I don't have that as a key matchup because I don't know which one he's going to face.
Yeah.
Because they like to move their wide receivers a lot. So they may play Olave in the slot the whole game. They may play Shaheed. A.T. Perry's like 6'4", 220. They'll play him in the slot. So it's kind of hard to gauge who a key matchup will be on the edge. So Mendoza saying rookie out of Colorado State. I'll take your word for it. And I'll be looking for his number in the game, Mendoza. So another matchup, this is going to be another big one. Eric Kendricks hopefully has a repeat performance against probably the second best out of the backfield running back in the NFL right now in Alvin Kamara. So Kamara is really good on the edges. He's also really good catching the ball and running as a receiver out of the backfield. And I don't know if they're going to change this or not, but whenever the backs came out of the backfield, Eric Kendricks was the guy who kind of had to go out there and cover him. So he's definitely going to have his hands full in this game. Now, Marlon says he's cooking Kendricks. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But this is definitely one of those key matchups to pay attention to.
The thing with that, Marlo, I want you to remember that if he gets past one, there's nothing behind it. So I'm actually really excited about this matchup. This is going to be a really good judge on where Kendricks is at. Yeah. I think a really good judge. Look, I like Kamara, but he just has a lot of his mind sometimes seems to leave the game, if that makes you know what I'm talking. I mean, he is off the field issue. I know we ain't got much room to talk. We've got our own players in that situation, but I'm just saying it really depends on which Kamara you get every Sunday because it is hit and miss.
Yeah,
very, very hit and miss.
So Marlon, Saints fan, thank you for giving us that insight. He says Foster Moreau has a concussion. More than likely, if he has a concussion, he's not playing the next game, so he's probably out. And then Mendoza, A.T. Perry didn't play week 1, so I don't know how his injury is progressing. He may be available this week, and if he is, that's a guy you definitely got to watch. And Marlon bringing up a good point. They have Kubiak now in New Orleans, so he loves running off tackle plays. So Alvin Kamara is definitely going to be used to stretch the field. So talking about wide receivers and corners. So Amanda, like I said, I don't know who they're going to put in the slot, but based off of last week, it was a lot of Chris Olave.
Yeah. They played Shaheed out wide a lot.
They had Shaheed out wide a lot, but he was all over the field, though. And he's on special teams as well. He's probably the only player I would say who may be a better returner than Turpin in the league right now. So Chris Olave, Jordan Lewis in the slot, definitely going to be a matchup to pay attention to because Olave is a very talented receiver.
Very talented.
And Jordan Lewis is definitely starting to come into his own since like week 10 last year. So this is going to be one of those matchups that can make the difference in the game. And let's see. We got 2 more key matchups, and then we'll move the show along. If you guys have any other matchups or things you want to talk about, feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll definitely hit on them. So this is another big matchup we got to talk about. Cam Jordan, all pro, and he loves picking on right tackles, and he plays with strength and speed. So Terrence Steele is definitely going to have his hands full in this game because Cameron Jordan always loves playing against the Cowboys, and Terrence Steele has to show us that he can continue to improve off of what he showed us in last week's game.
I have to say, we had so many issues. You go back to that Philly game with Terrence, last year. You go back to that Philly game, I think it was week
Uh-huh.
17.
Yeah.
Terrence was really a weak point on that line. Look, we had a in and out left tackle. It was kind of hit and miss depending on it. We never really could be set because of Tyron, but Terrence looked good last week compared to what
Yeah.
we saw in 2023. And I'm really excited to see if he progresses off that because he didn't get paid the way we paid him for nothing. He had a phenomenal season and then he got hurt. We just have a tendency to pay people. We have a tendency to pay people coming off injury, and it either is good or bad. Last year, it was kind of like a Michael Gallup situation with Terrence Steele.
Uh-huh.
He just really struggled, but he came off that ACL, and I really am excited to see Terrence Steele this game. I think he's going to surprise people because if he can
Yeah.
get back to being the person we paid, I think he's going to be fine.
I think so too. And this is definitely the year to show it. Got a lot of good pass rushers coming in. You just saw Myles Garrett. Now you're going to get Cam Jordan. Then in 2 weeks, you're going to get TJ Watt. Next week, you're going to get, I can't think of the guy from the Ravens. Then you got Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good pass rushers coming through. Brian Burns with the Giants is coming through. So you definitely got a lot of matchups that Terrence Steele is going to have to deal with. And this is just another one. Oh, and Marlon giving us some good Saints takes saying they moved Cam inside.
Oh.
So, Marlon, since you're here, I watched the game. Chase Young played almost the entire game on the right side against the left defensive end. So I didn't pay attention to who was actually rushing on the right side. If I had to guess, it was probably a first-round pick from a couple years ago, Peyton Turner. Maybe that's who they had playing in. Let me know if that's right or not, Marlon, because I know Chase Young was playing against the left tackle. All right, so we got one more key matchup, and we talked about last week with the two tackles from Cleveland. We got to talk about these two tackles. So, number one, first-round pick from this year, Talise Fuaga, had a solid game last week, but when I watch him play, I just have a problem with him against athleticism, and he's gonna see Micah Parsons, who's probably by far the most athletic pass rushing end in the league right now. If they decide to go ground and pound, I could see him giving some problems. But if they go pass rush, I could see Fuaga having some issues. And then you go with the other tackle, first round pick from last year, Trevor Penning, a guy that a lot of Cowboys fans wanted us to sign or draft.
Yeah.
Played left tackle last year, looked awful. I mean, he looked like Josh Ball last year. He looked terrible. And then he got hurt. Now they've moved him to right tackle. Now, hopefully that helps. It didn't help last week, in my opinion. So we're going to see him against D-Law. Now, one thing I do like about Trevor Penning, I think he'll be a good guard, even though he's like 6'7", because he likes to fight. He likes to play in the phone booth. He likes to have a 15-round bout when he plays football. So that's definitely going to be a good matchup. If you just like to see physical play, pay attention to the little chippy stuff him and D-Law do in the game, because there's going to be a lot of it. Mendoza saying the tackles are two guys that have been in our prospect watch. It'll be fun to watch. Yeah, I think Fuaga came from Washington, if I'm not mistaken. Oregon, maybe in Oregon State, somewhere. I knew it was a Pac-12 team. But yeah, if they decide to run the ball, I think it's going to be really good. I have issues with them in terms of pass rush, though. Amanda, those are all the key matchups I have. Is there any other key matchup that you're kind of looking forward to that I don't have mentioned?
I actually want to see how they scheme Taysom. I always look. I'm a football fan. I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm a Cowboy fan first, but I'm a football fan in general. And Taysom Hill is one of my favorite players in the league. and he's kind of on that downward slide age-wise, but he's
Mhm.
just so fun because he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see. Look, what was it? I'm trying to go back. I think it was 2018. They came in undefeated and they left our house with a loss.
Yeah.
No one
2018.
expected us to win that game. And I think that we have to regain. I'm excited to see the Taysom Hill matchup. But one thing about this game that I think, no offense, Marlo, I'm not trying to get on you, but we have something to prove at our house because of what happened the last time we played there.
Yeah.
So y'all probably should watch out too because we had been on a wonderful run until that playoff game.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited. I think we're going to come out and reclaim our house, so to speak. So
Yeah. I see Texas Boy join us from YouTube. Looks like a new name. So thank you for joining.
welcome.
You speak the truth, Texas Boy. Chase Young does not play with effort. And that's just a lot of wasted talent to me.
He was with Washington, right? That was their pick first, right?
Yeah, he was with
He was
Washington,
with
and then
Washington, then
last
he went to the
year
Niners.
he was with
went
the
to
Niners for one
and
year, and
then
everybody
right.
thought they're going to have the greatest pass rush ever. And
No, because remember Shanahan said he wouldn't work. It was
right.
we talked about it in our one of our playoff matchups. Me and you discussed it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to work.
Yeah.
It's really sad when you have that much talent, and there was so much hope for him, and then he wouldn't put it in. And there's some people that do that. They get in, they get that money, and that's all they care about.
Yep.
He got a big first round payout. I don't remember how much a first round grade player gets off the top of my head right now.
I mean, he
But
was a top 3 pick, so he probably
yeah.
got 25 million
25, yeah,
guaranteed.
he got his money and that was it. So
yeah. All right, so let's go to our next segment. We got 2 segments left. So the views are still going up. So thank you guys for continuing to watch. I see we got a lot of views still on X. So once again, guys, if you're watching on X, we definitely appreciate you watching on X. But if you could, please go to our YouTube channels and hit that subscribe button. Even if you don't watch up there, you will be able to help us grow the Fifth Quarter Nation. DC4L still holding pretty steady. So thank you guys for joining us. And also my regular viewers over at the Bluff City Cowboys YouTube page. So let's go. Marlon says, I think our biggest advantage is going to be the element surprise with our new scheme. I could definitely see that because Gary Kubiak is not Gary Kubiak. I'm sorry. I can't think with the young Kubiak is definitely a great play caller along the lines with the Shanahans. So you guys probably going to scheme some stuff up because I noticed watching the game, I haven't seen Derek Carr throw that vertical in college. I mean, in the NFL ever. You have to go back to college to see him throwing as vertical as he did. Clint Kubiak, thank you. From I believe he was from Houston. I think he was with Houston before. But yeah, they're definitely throwing it out there. So let's go ahead and go into some X factors in this game. So the X factors are just guys who can make a big play unexpectedly, that can help change the course of the game. And all of these X factors are, well, 3 of the 4 that I have are Saints. Amanda, you just talked about one. Taysom Hill, of course. Tight end / fullback / quarterback / running back / punt returner. He does it all. And you never know where he's going to line it up at or what he's going to do. Now, you just mentioned Taysom Hill. So what is it about his game that that concerns you?
He's a real good gadget player. I love it when they put him under center. I really love the way he plays under center. But like I said, he's been on that downward slide. He doesn't have the speed to me that he used to have coming out of the backfield. So I've just always been intrigued with the way he plays. He's got really good vision. But there was who was it 1 year? I don't remember which year it was with the Saints, but they pulled him. They made him quarterback because they were really down, and he just did not. It was a complete night and day from what we saw to what we had seen to what we saw when they put him completely under center.
Right.
So my concern with him is just you got to keep him. You can't let him get outside the pocket, depending on where he comes out. So
yeah. So I see we got a couple other people putting their X factors up. So we got Mendoza saying Osa's an X factor. Brian Dublé saying Deuce is an X factor. If Deuce plays, he could be an X factor. He has to get on the field.
scratch.
Yeah. Let me go to a couple of other ones. Since you guys brought up the Cowboys, I'll bring up the one Cowboys X factor I have. Now, I have Malik Hooker as an X factor.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because, like I just said, when Marlon brought up the new scheme, watching that game last week, I've never seen Derek Carr throw the ball 30 yards or more as I did in last week's game. He didn't do it in Oakland. He didn't do it in college. He's always been a very safe passer of the ball, and he's been kind of the dink and dunk guy that people accuse Dak of being. But last week, he was letting it go. And watching how we play a lot of cover one, cover two. So with guys like Raheed Shaheed and Chris Olave going deep, we're going to need Malik Hooker to be on his A game and stay on top of some of these passes because the Saints may try to sneak one behind us and get a big play. Because you know our corners will go for a double move, and then it's all on Malik Hooker to save us. All right, Jeffrey Soames saying Overshown and Carson. Those are definitely two good options, kind of lead into what I just said about Hooker. So Amanda, this is my only Cowboys X factor. Do you have another one that you're thinking of that could be kind of he can either make the play that wins it, or he could make the play that gets us beat?
So I'm actually gonna go with D-Law.
Okay.
D-Law is such a phenomenal player, and he doesn't get the credit he needs when it comes to his run grade. Like, his run defense is really top tier. So I think he's going to be instrumental in keeping Kamara contained. So dependent on how that goes. Now, look, we've got linebackers now. It's not quite the same scheme, but it really depends. So there's sometimes that D-Law is so quiet. He's just so quiet in a game, you don't see anything. We didn't see that last week, but it really just, to me, it depends on who shows up. So,
yeah.
Or even J-Lou. I mean, J-Lou's another good, Jordan Lewis in the slot. Depending on if they put Olave there, he's going to be asked to do a lot. There's a few people here that could really do that. I mean, you could even say, what Dak are you going to get? What Dak are they going to get against that secondary with the secondary that they have? Are we going to see a Dak that protects the ball? Or are we going to see a Dak that just lets it fly and is way too, loosey-goosey with it? Yeah. So I think there's a few options. I think Malik's a wonderful choice, though. So I'll go with that.
I had a couple of Saints X factors, but I didn't want to make it too much about the Saints because their team, the way their defense is structured, they just have a lot of playmakers. And going back to what Marlon said about the Saints could have the best secondary, now that I think about it, I mean, their secondary is really good, but I just like the level of talent that we have. And as I bring that up, let's go to my next X factor, and that is cornerback Alontae Taylor. Second round pick from Tennessee last year, played outside corner last year, but then they finally got Paul Adebo back on the field, so they moved Taylor back to the nickel. Last week as a nickel corner, he had 3 sacks. He was timing those sacks perfect. So that's one of those things that a young rookie tackle like Tyler Guyton or a Schoonmaker starting his first game, they have to be aware of him and how he positions how he turns his body, how he tries to hide, because he had 3 sacks last week. He's proven that he has that down to an art form. So yeah, as I put this in, Marlon says it. Yeah, Alontae Taylor, and he's going to be covering CeeDee Lamb. So you definitely got to hope that if you're a Saints fan, that he can have another big game. And then my last one, we talked about this earlier in the show, Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver for the Saints. I think he was an all-pro punt returner last year, but the kid does kick return. He does punt return. He's a 4.2 runner. He's a deep threat. He led the team in receiving yards last week. And I think he may have been second in receiving yards last year. Extremely young player, but the kid has some jets. So you definitely got to pay attention to him getting behind the offense now that they've allowed Derek Carr to kind of open up and throw it deep a little bit more. And Brian saying Zeke hopefully takes him out. That's definitely an advantage we have this year or this week over the Panthers last week because their running backs, like it's terrible over there in Carolina. Run blocking, running, catching out of the backfield, all of it.
Yeah, they aren't. That's why saying that's why I'm excited because we took on the number 2 defense in the league last year.
Yeah.
But I want to see if we can, recreate what we created last week again. So Saints fans, I know we have one watching. You need to hope that they can do the same thing, right? It's really hard to judge a team off one game, but I look at the quality of what they played. So with the Saints, I'm not saying it's an easy game or an easy win because they looked good. I'm just interested to see what they look up, against a formidable team.
Yeah, definitely going to be a matchup to pay attention to. So Marlon asked the question, didn't the Panthers invest in their O-line? No. The Panthers, again, it's certain players that I follow in college that I watch in the NFL, and a lot of the players that I liked on the offensive line, the Panthers drafted them. They got Brady Christensen out of Penn State. They got Ekwonu out of South Carolina first round. They drafted Taylor Moton. I can't remember where Taylor Moton's from. But they also got another guard named Robert Hunt from Notre Dame. So they got a lot of very young players. They made investments in the skill position when you look at drafting Jonathan Brooks,
Right,
signing Deontay Johnson.
Which that's a big thing. Jonathan's injured. So, you have to, they went with it. And I understand why they went after him. I get it. He's really good. If you wanted to improve your team right now, maybe they just didn't think that there was a right now to improve with, and they just wanted to get a little bit later team.
Yeah. And like you guys are saying, our offense versus their defense is definitely going to be the matchup to watch. All right, so we're at the last segment of the show now. Amanda, we do have a giveaway. Do you want to do it now or you want to wait till the very end?
It's up to you. If you want to go ahead and do it now, we can.
Okay. So I see the views are pretty consistent, starting to go up a little bit. So let's go ahead and do the first giveaway. So Amanda, while I type the question up, let the people know what the giveaway is.
So this one's just super simple. It's nothing like crazy fancy this time. It's a really awesome. If you have a man cave or anything, I have one. It's a Cowboys Jenga set. Super awesome. NFL labeled, just super simple. And I will ship it right to your house. So just message me if you win.
All right. So before we do that, we got to give the ground rules. Let me see if I updated them. I don't think I updated them from last week. But if you win, you have to contact Amanda within 72 hours. If you don't, we will be giving this away again next week. We do ask that you are a Cowboys fan, just because we don't want to have any outsider fans. Sorry, Terry and Marlon, having Cowboys item and doing something stupid online with them and saying they got it from us. We do also ask that you follow the DC4L Facebook and YouTube page, and also my Facebook and YouTube page, Bluff City Cowboys. And something that you've all already done, you have to give Facebook permission to see your name so that we know who we're giving it away to. So after this week, I won't have that up there anymore. So to win is simple. All you have to do is be the first person to correctly answer the trivia question. So I'm about to put the trivia question up right now. So the first person to answer correctly will receive the prize. And this week's question is, which Dallas player was the first player in NFL history to be named Super Bowl MVP from a losing team? So again, first player be named Super Bowl MVP from a losing team. The first person that we see that correctly answers will win the prize. So we're looking for the most diehard Cowboy fan or whoever can Google the fastest.
We had some harder ones last week, and that was pretty. Like, I was shocked how easy they knew it. That was crazy.
Even though Marlon's a Saints fan, he tried to answer, and of course he was wrong. You got to go a little bit older than Deion Sanders. All right, it shouldn't take more than 5 seconds to Google this, so somebody should have gotten it.
Wow. And you thought it'd be a little easy. See?
Colby Taylor saying Bob Lilly.
It is not Bob Lilly.
It's not Bob Lilly, but you're getting close. We're in the decade. That boy Charlie. No, that's not right. I don't know what that is, so I'm not putting it up. Can you see the comments, Amanda?
I can.
Okay.
Johnny says it is Randy White. That is not correct.
It is not correct. Okay, now I thought it was Danny White.
Oh, it is. There it is. Okay. There, we got a winner here. It's David David. It is Chuck Howley.
Chuck Howley. Cortland Haskett, you missed it by 1 second.
1 second. Man, 1 second. So close, Cortland, but that is correct. It is Chuck. It is Chuck. So he was the first one.
David David, congratulations on winning the Jenga set. Make sure you contact Amanda within 72 hours to let her know your address, and she will get that over to you.
And if you don't know, like if you don't know me, you can message the DC for L page. I'm who you're going to get 90% of the time. There's only 2 of us that run it, me and my co-owner. So shoot me a message on DC for L if you don't know me. I'm in the DC for L group everywhere. You can't miss me. So, but if you need to message the page, that's acceptable.
Yeah, it looks like you're watching from Facebook, so I'm assuming you're watching from the page. So just go ahead and hit that DM button, and you'll get Amanda or Tanya.
Perfect.
All right, guys. So let's go into our last segment of the show. Views are still pretty consistent. The likes are starting to catch it. Let's keep hitting that like button. Let's try to get to 100 likes 2 weeks in a row. As we go into the last segment, so we're going to get you guys more interactive to end the show. So we're going to do our over-unders for this week, where I will give you a statistic, and you tell me whether or not that player will go over or under that statistic. Let's get to it.
Over under.
All right. So Zeke Elliott, first game, 10 rushes, 40 yards.
And a touchdown.
And a touchdown. I'm adding 10 yards to it. It's not total yards, it's rushing. Over under 50 rushing yards for Zeke Elliott this week. We've been talking all throughout the show. This is going to be our offense versus their defense. One good way to control the clock and to control the flow of the offense is to establish the run game. So, does Zeke Elliott get 50 yards rushing? Over, under? Let me know what you think in the comments.
What do you think, Marcus?
You know, I was impressed with Zeke last week. I think he goes over.
Out of the gate, he's out there hurdling folks. The first play, jumping over defenders. It was just a good memory, I guess you want to go with. I actually, I think just because of how good I think the defense is for the Saints, because I've watched a little bit of the game from last week, I think it's going to be just a little under.
Okay. So I see that boy Charlie is a Saints fan. He says our run defense is no joke. We have to watch Carl Granderson 96. And if I'm not mistaken, Carl Granderson, I can't remember where he came from. I just went blank on it. But I know who Carl Granderson is. So let's go to the comments. Mendoza under. It looks like it's pretty split. Under Mendoza, over Brian. Marlon says under. David Dermer over with the exclamation point. Cortland, thank you for joining, Cortland. says under by a few yards, and Johnny Dan Alanis says over. So I said over, Amanda. What did you say?
Just a little under.
A little under. Okay. Yeah. So he's from Wyoming, same school, Josh Allen. So it looks like it's pretty split then, because the comments went over, under, and me and you have over under. So it's not as sunny and blue skies as it was last week. We were talking about over unders with the
Over.
Browns.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about our running back. Let's go to the other team's running back, Alvin Kamara. Now, because he's a dual threat, we have to do rushing and receiving yards. So over under 100 total yards for Alvin Kamara. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We just talked about it. Eric Kendricks is probably going to do a lot of covering him out of the backfield. They got a new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who likes to run a lot off tackle, which pretty much works into Kamara's strength. Kamara had 83 yards rushing last week, and I think he may have added another 40 receiving. I got to pull the stats up really quick. He had 83 rushing, and he had, let's see, he had 27 receiving. So he had 110 total yards last week against the Panthers. Over under 100 total yards this week.
I learned my lesson. Last week. Under.
Okay.
Between 80 and 95.
All right. So let's see what we got in the comments. Cortland says over. Brian under.
Saints Beard gang. Sorry.
Yeah, Beard gang.
Beard gang. Under. I'm with you, man.
Saints fan, of course, says over. Dat boy Charlie coming in saying Taysom has more rushing yards than Kamara. Actually, that wouldn't surprise me. That's why I have him as an X factor. David Dermer saying over, sadly. Mendoza also saying over. Marlon says it'll be a lot of dump offs due to the D line. I could definitely see that. One way to keep the pressure off is to get the ball out of Carr's hands quickly, and no better way to do that than dumping it off to the running back. David Derner saying not much over 100 though. And then Johnny Dan Alanis saying under. So it looks like this one has a few more overs than unders. I'm leaning, man. This is a tough one, just because, like Marlon said, this could be a lot of dump offs this game, which could make the receiving yards go higher. But I just think this game we're going to see a Jamal Williams, Taysom Hill running attack, kind of go a little bit more smash mouth to kind of run right at our defense to see if we can slow them down. So I'm expecting Kamara to not be as involved in the running game as last week, where he had 15 carries, which sounds ridiculous for him. I see his carries being closer to 10 or 12, but I could definitely see those receptions going up though. So I'm leaning under, but I think the receiving yards will be more than the rushing yards. Yeah, that boy Charlie, if he doesn't get the screen game going, I'm with you. He could break one. Okay, so we got two more over-unders. So let's go back to the Cowboys side of the ball. We talked about this earlier in the show. Jake Ferguson's dealing with a knee injury, so he may not play. So Schoonmaker may make his first start this week. So over under 25 receiving yards for Luke Schoonmaker. 25 receiving yards over under. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What you think, Amanda? 25 yards receiving?
Man, I don't like Luke Schoonmaker. I just don't. I'm still so agitated with that pick. I'm really worried about the chemistry aspect of it. He played a lot more with Trey Lance in the preseason, and even in camp. I mean, so I'm going to go over simply because if Ferg's not playing, Dak loves his tight ends. History has shown us. Look at Dalton Schultz, Blake Jarwin. You can go back even when he had Jason. It's just Dak loves him. Like, I don't want to say that because I already know it's like a soundbite clip. I'll say over, but simply because he's taking Ferg's spot, not because he deserves it.
I wish I knew what John Stevens' status is.
I know he didn't practice today. I've got the injury report. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I know Nealand also didn't practice. That concerned me.
Yeah. So John Stevens dealing with a hamstring. I don't know. Ugh. So let's go to the comments and let me think about it a little bit more. Maybe you guys can sway me one way or the other. So you said over, didn't you, Amanda?
I did.
Okay.
Just because of whose place he's taking.
Okay. So Marlon says over, Corlin over, Mendoza over, Brian saying if no Ferg over, David Derner being an optimist saying he's going to open some eyes. That boy Charlie saying our receivers aren't that good except the Honey Badger. That's another thing I was thinking about too, that boy Charlie, because I know you guys have the Honey Badger and he loves covering tight ends one-on-one. That was one of the things that was kind of swaying me to go under. David Dermer saying it's his safety valve. You know what? I'm leaning under. I think it's going to be a Lepke game. I think Lepke will go over before Schoonmaker.
I really think that the way we saw after Ferg went out, that's who they diverted to was playing Lupke.
Yeah.
So that tells me really what Mike McCarthy thinks of that pick. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
So I the only reason I'm saying is he's going to start, and I expect to get a couple chunk plays of 12 and a half. It doesn't take much to get 25 yards. But I think Lupke's going to have a much bigger game than Schoonmaker. I really like the way we were utilizing him last week. So
yeah,
I think he's becoming our hybrid.
Okay. So we got an overwhelming over, even from the Saints fans. So I went against what the Saints fans said, and I said under. So we'll see what happens. All right, so we got the last one. And as you guys know, for the last one, I like to do an either or. So for this week, we're going back to the Saints. Our corners looked extremely well against the Browns' two receivers. By the way, two former first-round picks, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy. Over under any Saints receiver getting 75 yards. Now, I will throw a caveat in. There's a slight revenge game in this game because Cedric Wilson is a Saint.
Yeah, he is.
He did not have a catch last week, though, but he is a Saint.
Well, we played him in Miami, too, when you think about it. So he didn't do much. He's already had his, revenge game. Not one of them is going over 75. I don't care who it is. No one's getting more than 75 yards on this defense. I'm that impressed with it. Not one of them. Now, you're saying single individual, right? Or in total?
No, I mean, will either one of these guys get over 75 yards?
The only way Shaheed gets it is if he breaks off a return. That's the only way but it's not receiving yards. So, a punt reception, it's not really
We're just doing receiving yards, right?
So, nope, neither of them. Okay. Under.
I see we got a couple of Saints fans joining us. So, Mojo, thank you for tuning in. We're about to end the show, but we definitely appreciate you dipping your head into the Fifth Quarter podcast and making your thoughts known. So Marlon saying over, Brian with a strange face saying over. Mojo just joining us saying over also. That boy Charlie saying Olave going over because we're going to try to cover Shaheed deep. That could definitely be an option. But like I said before, that's going to be one of our key matchups between him and Jordan Lewis underneath. Mendoza going over. And by the way, for everybody saying over, let me know which receiver you think is going to go over because you're just saying over. Let me know which one you think is going to be or if it's both. Marlon saying this is definitely an Olave game. I don't think Olave had many yards last week. Let me see how many yards Chris Olave had last week.
I'm really curious to the Saints fans that are here. Have y'all watched the Cowboys game from last week?
I know Marlon watched it.
Did he?
I know he did.
I'm
I don't
just
know the other
curious if
guys.
anyone else did.
Yeah. So last week, Olave had 2 catches for 11 yards
Huh?
in a blowout.
Against the Panthers.
Yeah. So 2 for 12. David Durner saying I agree with Amanda. Brian saying it could be garbage yards, which is something you always got to consider.
Yeah.
Johnny, Dan, Elise saying under. Mojo saying Shaheed because of the play action. I could definitely see that. Marlon saying it was against J.C. Horn.
JC.
That boy Charlie saying I feel like DC4 is better than Watson. 100%. No argument there. Cortland going with the Saints guys saying they'll try to get Olave more this game. You know, as impressed as I was last week, and after watching the Saints game, I would be shocked if we hold either one of these guys under 75 yards.
We'll see.
Now, that's not saying we won't win the game. And if you guys come back Sunday, we'll give our game predictions. But I think there's a good chance both of these guys will go over 75.
Do you think it could be a shootout? That's what I'm hearing a little bit.
I mean,
no, okay.
Nah. I mean, 75 yards is not
Okay.
a shootout.
Well, no, if you think both of them goes over, I just thought maybe. Do you think the game could turn into a shootout?
No, not at all.
He said not at all. I love when Marcus gets animated with the way he answers questions. It makes my day. It's like, not at all.
Yeah, and I said this before. A.T. Perry could be playing. So that's another guy you got to watch. 6'4", 220, runs a legit 4.3. So you add him, that's another speed element. But I don't know if he's playing or not. But I don't see a shootout, but I can see them getting yardage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only 150 yards. I could see Derek Carr throwing for 220. Good game for him. But I don't see that translating to a lot of points. But we'll talk about that on Sunday when we do our pregame show. Jacoby Taylor got a lot of Saints fans joining us. So,
oh no, he's a diehard Cowboy fan. See, he knows.
I just read the first part of it. Yeah,
one of our admins is from Iota, Louisiana, and he also is a diehard. We have actually a few people that are there's several of our team that was born and raised in Louisiana. So
okay,
yeah, Teresa, Tyson.
Okay. Yeah. And that boy Charlie, I know you're a diehard Saints fan, but we definitely appreciate the sub. That lets us know we're doing something right when other fans can come over and see the value in our content. So even though we're not playing the Saints every week, feel free to dip back in and join in the conversation when we play the Niners or we play the Falcons. We always love having some good people, not only from that team, but from that division, who can help add on to the conversation. Mojo saying the Browns may be worse than the Panthers. I don't know if I could agree with you on that one. Panthers are pretty awful.
Are we maybe? Hey, Mojo, if you want to live in fantasy world, I mean, live in fantasy world. It's fine. We'll allow it.
Yeah.
Not going to agree with it, but we'll let you. Hey.
Corlin, when you say I'm one, what does that mean? You live in Louisiana?
I think so.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know he's friends with a guy, one of our fantasy leagues, so they probably know each other from there. So if you are, man, be safe down there. All you Saints fans also.
Yeah. So I actually work part-time for a Storm Chaser. And I run their socials, and it's crazy down there. They're down there in Louisiana right now. Last time they were actually just messaging me. That's why I've been kind of hit and miss on my phone, because they were letting me know what's going on. New Orleans is flooding terribly bad right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Luckily, it's a home game in Dallas.
It is. That's right.
Okay. Corlin says he lives in Indiana now. But yeah, all you Saints fans, if you're down there, please be safe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all we have for today's show. We're at an hour, 40 minutes. We didn't hit 100 likes, but we definitely appreciate everyone who consistently watched throughout the show. The show stayed consistently at 80 views. So that's probably going to translate to a couple of hundred views for this show live. And then we pick up a whole bunch more after the show. So thank you guys who watched live. Thank you to everybody who will watch this later. If you guys want to come back, let me think. Will I be free this Sunday? I don't know if I'll be able to do a pregame show this Sunday. I'm going to try my hardest. 10:30. If I do a pregame show, it'll only be 20 minutes. So come find us this Sunday, probably closer to 11:30 for a pregame show. We'll do game predictions. We'll do keys to victory, and we'll do some fantasy favorites to lead into the week 2 matchups. But as always, you can definitely come find us every Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Amanda has graciously joined me for the past 2 weeks, but next week I will be rolling solo as we hopefully celebrate another victory Wednesday against the New Orleans Saints, and we'll be looking ahead to our week 3 matchup, which will be a big game against the Baltimore Ravens.
It'll be a good game. I'm excited for that game.
That'll be a really good game. So we're definitely gonna have a lot to talk about next Wednesday, not only from this game, but how we're gonna stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and that vaunted Ravens defense. So make sure you guys come join us next week, 8:30 Central Standard Time, for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Amanda, any closing thoughts before we get out of here, since you won't be joining us again for probably another couple of weeks?
Yeah, so if you're in the DC for L Facebook group, Cowboys fans, and you're local and you can get to the Colony on Saturday, go enter for a chance to meet Michael Irvin. You probably want to go do that. That closes tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., so you definitely want to go and try to win that VIP ticket to the Cowboys experience. All you gotta do is guess a number. I think it's between 1 and 500 this time. I have it already pinned in my phone. I can't tell you the answer because that wouldn't be no fun. Do that, and then check out our Patreon, follow the page, and we'll have some really cool stuff coming this weekend too on the page. So make sure you check it out, and then watch up for new. I think we might be doing something a little special this weekend in the group, so definitely watch that too.
Yeah, so if you're watching from YouTube, make sure you go join that DC4L Facebook group. Now, unfortunately, we do not allow outside fans to join the DC4L group. Nothing personal. We just try to keep it as level-headed as possible. And even though some of you guys do mean well, sometimes Cowboys fans can feel attacked by other fans. So we just try to keep it DC4L only. But if you guys want to have your thoughts heard, you can always join us every Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. We'd love to have your thoughts and questions about any upcoming games.
Yeah.
Once again, Amanda, anything else you want to add?
No, the page, for anyone who's not a fan, you're welcome to follow our public page. We have fans from every team there. There's a lot of trash talking. That's really wide open. The public page is wide open. The private group is just 150,000 Cowboys fans that are happy. And we argue enough amongst ourselves, so we don't bring any other stuff in. So just check us out. Marcus, as always, thanks for having me. And y'all see me back because I'm working on about 4 new prizes for the next big show I come on. So
okay. Looking at the schedule, so will it be the Niners game or Steelers?
I'm thinking Niners. Well, I know you usually have someone who might want to come on, so it kind of depends. We'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Yeah, because I know you have a friend who likes to come on and do your Niners show too, so I don't want to take his shine. So we'll figure it out, but we'll announce it. I'll announce when I'm coming on with all the prizes and stuff, so y'all don't miss too. But follow Marcus because this dude's smart, man. I learned something from him every show.
I appreciate that. All right, well, thank you guys for watching. Definitely appreciate all the questions and comments because this show is fueled by Cowboys Nation. And tonight it was definitely fueled by Saints Nation as well. You guys really stepped in and gave some great questions and comments. We will see you guys this Sunday and definitely next Wednesday. And as always, let's go Cowboys. I'll see you guys later.